Judicial Watch here with our weekly update. We have some interesting developments for you. We had a great panel this week on the Clinton email scandal. I'll talk to you about that in a bit. Importantly, we had some confirmation that Obama administration political operatives were playing fast and loose with the law and targeting Judicial Watch Freedom of Information Act requests, a specific request, in a way that was inappropriate under the law, and it's really outrageous. The story is in the paper today, in the Washington Times. The headline is, this photo, by the way, is from 12 years ago, so don't hold it against me. Obama operatives stripped Judicial Watch of media status, overcharged for FOIA requests. And this story references an Office of Inspector General report that, by the way, was done last year but only released today or this week, that concludes, according to the lead of the story, political operatives within the Obama administration wrongly punished conservative legal group Judicial Watch, stripping it of its media status and trying to force it to pay higher fees for its open records requests. The General Services Administration Inspector General said in a letter released Thursday, which is yesterday. So this is what happens when we do a Freedom of Information Act request. Judicial Watch usually does these requests almost always in the public interest, but we're also a member of the media for purposes of the Freedom of Information Act, and purposeless, and we are generally. And the government agencies generally recognize that and grant us what are known as fee waivers. Otherwise, we'd have to pay money to get these public interest and media-related requests processed. Now, the General Services Administration, which is the bureaucracy for the bureaucracy, it leases government agents, leases buildings for government agencies, and does things like that by making sure the pencils are there and that people have space to work in for the federal government. The General Services Administration, we had asked for documents, or specifically a video, what we understood had been created by its employees up in New York. And in New York, we were understood from a whistleblower who was retaliated against for complaining about these types of videos where the people were running around to the theme of Rocky. Can you just imagine your government at work? By the way, this is the same GSA was holding these lavish conferences in Las Vegas, you may recall. So anyway, we did a FOIA request, and according to this OIG report, they got political operatives involved, political appointees at the GSA involved in our FOIA request. By the way, the GSA had previously granted us, according to the OIG, to be sure, granted Judicial Watch press status in the past, most recently for a FOIA request made less than 2 weeks before the request under which we were denied media status. And what had happened was we were granted it and denied it, and it was as a result of involvement of a White House political liaison. So why was the White House political liaison involved in our FOIA request? And who was this White House political liaison? Well, it's an interesting character because the Inspector General said the decision came at the behest, and this is the Washington Times again, of Gregory Mecher, M-E-C-H-E-R, a former Democratic campaign fundraiser who at the time was liaison to the White House. He's married to Jen Psaki, P-S-A-K-I, a longtime spokeswoman with the Obama administration and its election campaigns. And so what happened was we got the media status request and should have gotten the document more easily, but we were stripped in violation of agency policies and obviously the law. And there were other violations too. So this is what happened. So we filed the request, and the GSA's Office of Inspector General has a nice chart that shows you how long we had to wait for the request to be responded to. It took 357 days for them to respond to our basic request for 1 or 2 videos, a few videos. The median time is 48 days for responses to FOIA requests at the agency. The average time was 63 days. Obviously, a political decision was made to withhold this information. And the only way we got it, by the way, wasn't by waiting for the bureaucrats to say yes, was by suing. And after we sued, they had to pay us $750. to cover at least the costs of filing the lawsuit and some other minor costs. So this is your Obama administration at work. I mean, if you think the State Department's the only problem, it happens throughout all the agencies. And here we have confirmation from an Inspector General, an internal watchdog of the Obama administration, saying the Obama administration violated the rules in targeting Judicial Watch. We were targeted. We were targeted by the Obama administration, by political operatives in the Obama administration, and we were targeted in a way that deprived us of our rights under law. And what a waste it is, because we had to file a federal lawsuit to get access to this video. And the video is available on our internet site, and we'll post a link along, my colleague, I'm sure we can get the link up to the videos that we did uncover, and you'll see why they didn't want to show them to us, because they're utterly ridiculous. And by the way, the person who told us about these videos, she was targeted for retaliation and forced to work in the daycare center of the GSA up in New York. So this is the sort of garbage we have to deal with day in and day out when we ask for government records. And you know, and those of you who think this is just, oh, it's the Obama administration, this happens no matter what. I guarantee you the Bush administration, if we were able to get Inspector General reports on how our FOIAs were handled during the Bush administration, would show similarly that you could just have been Bush operatives stripped Judicial Watch media status. The Bush people were just were bad too, but the politicization of the way the law is administered is the problem here. And here we have confirmation that operatives of the Obama administration targeted Judicial Watch and mistreated us under law here. And we see evidence of that in terms of how long we have to wait for our FOIA request. Again, it took over a year to get this, or nearly a year to get this basic information, where other requesters, it just takes a matter of weeks. So it's pretty damning. We have the links to our story on our internet site, and we'll post them on Facebook. We'll also have links to the IG report, and we'll be in our weekly update. We'll highlight it this week as well, which is we send out via email every week. So the reason I come on every week on Fridays is to talk about what we think is going to be in the weekly update, and believe me, this story is going to be in there. We're working on it as we speak. And I want to also draw attention to the fact that we had a great educational panel this week on the Clinton scandal issues, on the email issues. It's on Facebook as well, so you'll scroll down a little bit, or we'll have a link within this broadcast as well. We had Peter Schweitzer, the author of Clinton Cash, Jerry Corsi, who's from WorldNetDaily.com or WND.com. He has a new book, Partners in Crime. Joe Geneva, the former U.S. Attorney, former Special Counsel, former Independent Counsel, and Chris Farrell, my colleague here at Judicial Watch, who is our Director of Investigations and Research, who's also a former Army counterintelligence official, former Army counterintelligence officer, specializer in counterintel and human intelligence. And it's a pretty devastating analysis of the Clinton email scandal. We'll give you facts you probably don't hear anywhere else. The panel is an hour and a half. You won't believe how fast it goes by. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback, and I want you to know it's out there because I want you to view it, but I also want you to share it because it's important that people have this basic information about the Clinton email scandal. And we talk about Donald Trump too, and we're somewhat blunt in some regards there too. So I want you to know that at Judicial Watch, you know, we ask questions about everybody. We ask questions about everybody. And it's important that those of you who are principled conservatives and want our government to operate well always call attention to the problems and point out the problems of potential corruption no matter where it is. And by the way, I don't buy that the Trump Foundation problem is commensurate with anything that the Clinton Foundations are about. But if there are issues of transparency, we should be able to call Donald Trump out the way we would Hillary Clinton. And it doesn't suggest an equivalency, it just means that we're just doing what is necessary as watchdogs and as vigilant citizens if you're personally active. Some other good news this week. Last week I told you that we're going to get at least 1,000 emails processed of the emails Mrs. Clinton didn't want you to see. Jason Leopold of Vice News, who has a separate lawsuit, was able to pressure and convince the State Department and Justice Department to process even more emails. So now there'll be, I think, 3,000 total emails processed. Now, to be clear, it doesn't mean they'll all be released. And the State Department's definition of processing emails is looking at an email and saying, oh, well, this is something we need to send to the CIA, so send it to them. So we may not get anything as the CIA wait around for the CIA to figure out whether they want to release them or not. But it moves the process along, and I guarantee you, or I shouldn't say I guarantee, I'm certain, given my experience at Judicial Watch, that more Clinton emails, the ones that were deleted or otherwise withheld from the American people, will be turned over and released. A few of them, not as many as we'd like, but some of them will be coming out beginning next month. So this is going to be an interesting time. And just a brief comment, we did talk about the Comey investigation, or the hearing. The FBI director was questioned by the House Judiciary Committee this week, and he was really grilled. And people have criticized him and the Justice Department rightly for handing out immunity like candy to all these Clinton operatives who arguably should have been the subject of criminal investigations rather than given immunity. I have a question, and I don't think it's been answered yet, is did Hillary Clinton get immunity as part of her deal in terms of questioning by the FBI and Justice Department? We don't know the circumstances and the agreement that took place in order that allowed her to come in and testify, or at least submit herself to questioning. And I think it's an open question. I think we need to know what were the parameters. Was there any guarantees made, or what agreement was made in order for that interview to happen? Was there an immunity agreement made? Was it a proffer session where a witness or a potential target comes in and they're told, well, you just come in and tell us what we know, and we won't necessarily use that against you? That would be interesting to know. Given the fact they granted immunity to others, I don't know if we can rule out that Hillary Clinton wasn't granted immunity. And I know Donald Trump had mentioned that too yesterday, and I thought about it independently, and I'm sure the media is poo-pooing it because Donald Trump said it. But let's be clear, we don't know the circumstances under which Mrs. Clinton was questioned and whether immunity or some type of immunity was granted to her. So I think that's an interesting question, and it's probably not going to be in the weekly update, but I thought it would be something I don't think has been covered adequately by the media. So some great news this week. We had this great panel. You really need to view it online. It's available on Facebook, on YouTube, on our website, judicialwatch.org. And I want you to read this story about and our weekly email update about how the Obama operatives targeted Judicial Watch and tried to strip us of our media status and overcharge us for FOIA requests and others. And by the way, they targeted, and they also played the games with the media as well. So this OIG report is really interesting. So more documents next week on Clinton Foundation stuff. You can guarantee. I'm pretty sure that we'll get those out next week. And I think we might even have some new IRS documents for you to look at too. So I'm not sure if we'll get them out next week, but we're looking at them now. So the information keeps coming fast and furious, and so we're on the case. And next week I've got some election integrity updates to give you as well. So stay tuned for that next week, and I'll probably give you a report on that at the end of the week. In the meantime, track what we're doing on Facebook and on our internet site. Everything is moving so quickly, you really need to tune in daily, either on Facebook or our internet site, to track what we're doing and the various scandals that we're involved in uncovering. So thanks again. Appreciate your attention and time, and have a great weekend. Again, Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch, signing off.